President Trump is pushing for lower beef prices as major meat processors shut down plants, citing tight cattle supplies and rising costs. Max Gordon is with us now to explain. Hey, Max.
Hey there, Brian. Well, beef prices have been setting record highs this year, with the U.S. cattle herd at its lowest level in decades. Several factors are contributing to this. A drought in America's heartland has meant there's less grass to graze on. Then there's been the halt on U.S. imports of Mexican cattle to stop the flesh-eating screwworm parasite. President Trump says he's working to bring down beef prices, accusing meatpacking companies of market manipulation. Reporting in the Wall Street Journal indicates the president's put together a quote-unquote beef task force to look into solutions to bring down prices. But amid this, meat processing plant closures. JBS, the largest meat processor in the world, announced that it's closing down a plant in Riverside, California, just east of Los Angeles, to, quote, simplify operations. That'll impact around 370 jobs, though, according to the company, the closure won't cause any meat shortages. And then this comes after Tyson Foods announced that it would be shutting down a cattle slaughtering plant in Nebraska, impacting around 3,200 jobs there. Meanwhile, the Justice Department has opened a probe into potential anti-competitive practices by the largest meat packers in the nation. Brian, back to you.
Max, thanks for that. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Dagan, you've talked about kind of the dynamics of the economics in this issue. What do you make of this?
Watch Gavin Newsom blame President Trump for high meat prices when JBS is closing down a plant in Riverside, California. I would argue it's probably because some of the regulations in that part of the country, all of the major meat packaging companies are based overseas or owned by overseas operators, and is this fight between cattle ranchers who are raising the cattle, facing very thin herds, and these meat processors, and they're pointing their fingers at each other. And it's about what is from America, what isn't, about labeling rules. Like, there's no rule that forces labeling of made in America or grown in America.
Mike, what about, I know you're big into sort of the MAHA and some of these movements, and Taylor and Jack, you are as well. What prevents a broader processing market in America? In other words, why do we have this oligopoly of 4 processors? I don't know if you can speak to that, but I'm just curious about why the dynamics of the market are the way they are.
The honest answer is I'm not sure that why it's set up, but I think the fact that we have a president in place who's now addressing it, so head on, not pushing it to the side, but saying, hey, we're going to put together a task force, people who know what they're talking about, know that answer, and figure out what's best for all of us here and the country in general. One of our investors at Rosecliff runs the largest privately held, family-owned meatpacking business in the Midwest. And speaking to him at length, he's saying, after generations, it's never been this bad. And really what he's saying is the input costs are so high, and when they go to package and sell the end product.
Input costs for them being actually beef cattle coming in. Yeah.
Exactly. It is so high, but then when they sell it, at the big places like Walmart, for instance, they can't, so they have to pay more, but Walmart won't allow them to raise the prices because people at the cash register don't want to pay more. So they're paying more, but then they're not getting more.
And just to build on that a little bit, when you think about these processing plants, the question was, why is there sort of a monopoly on it with just a few big processors? They're notoriously hard to run. Labor shortages, labor laws create issues. The USDA, OSHA,
that's what I was wondering about.
Constantly hawking them. And so with all of that kind of regulatory oversight, we'll call it, it just makes it really difficult to keep a plant running and to do it in a successful way. So I think a lot of people have backed away from it and opted not to. Also, just think about the overall overhead. So you want to start something like this and experiment in a new business. There are other options for you. I wish more people would do it so that the processors couldn't squeeze the cattle ranchers the way they did.
JBS is Brazilian. JBS is owned by a Brazilian company and is the largest in the world.
You just reminded me of something. I went back to the cabin a couple months ago, and my niece and is staying there with her husband, and I opened up my freezer, and there was like a quarter of a cow's worth of meat, because they go straight to the farmer. So instead of going to the processor, they go straight to the farmer. And I know other people have been doing that, Taylor.
Wow.
That's kind of a Maha thing.
It is.
Go right to the
out
farmer,
the
buy
middleman.
a quarter. So, I mean, I kind of wonder if that will help break up this market a little bit.
And I think easier said than done.
Oh, it's very, I mean,
It's hard to
challenging.
know your farmer,
Yeah.
right? I mean, even in New York City, I've talked about how my husband goes on Saturday mornings to the farmer's market around Lincoln Center, and you get to know the farmer, and they'll, oh, here's 3 pounds of brisket or whatever. And so you're trying to make that connection with that farmer who just came from upstate New York, but that is a very hard task to ask a lot of people who don't have the connection with the local farmer.
But you've just quickly, Dagan, I think on the bottom line, you've talked with some ranchers, and the message from them is they'd like more competition in the processing or more localized processing.
Is an oligopoly that needs to be broken up and is controlled by foreign companies and essentially foreign nations in a way that does not benefit the American cattle rancher. JB, that Brazilian company, Brazil, that is one of its biggest exports is beef. And it is a huge fight. And when President Trump came out and went and spoke out against the cattle ranchers, that kind of erupted into a fight that was not good, where he was saying that he was going to import more beef from South America if the cattle farmers and ranchers didn't bring down prices. And that unwound a ball of fury that this White House does not want. I'll leave it at that.
All right, so let's, Taylor, let's take a look at Zillow. You've got some stuff on
Who's looking to move? Anyone in the market
I
for
look
new
at
home?
Zillow all